In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your passenger side CV axle on your Hyundai Accent. It's located behind the passenger side wheel. All right, using a 21 millimeter, we're going to take our wheels off. Using a 32 millimeter axle socket, you're going to undo your axle nut. Okay, so before you're going to loosen the nut on the ball joint, you're going to lock your wheel. To do that, you just turn the key on, shut the key off, and then just lock the wheel. You're going to do that because you got to loosen the nut, and it's going in the opposite direction of where the wheel is turned to get to it. All right, now that we have our steering wheel locked, it's going to make it much easier to take that nut off. We're going to use a 19 millimeter wrench, put it on our ball joint nut, and we're going to loosen up that nut. Get your wrench out of there before you get it stuck. And then you can take your nut off. Now we're going to unlock the steering wheel. All right, turn your key on. Turn your wheel all the way to the right. Put it in neutral. All right, so we're going to make sure this is free. And ours is not. So we're going to get a rubber mallet. Just give it a few taps and hopefully looks like it's moving. I also sprayed some rust penetrant in there before I began this job, which I recommend doing if you feel like you're going to need it. I'm also going to get a punch and give it a few back and forths. You might need to turn the wheel a few times. You want it to work back and forth a little bit. All right, when you get good movement like that, you're good. So I'm going to turn my wheel back. All right, so now we're going to free up our ball joint. I'm using 2 sledgehammers. So you want to hit here, not here. All right, so I'm going to use an exhaust clamp, and that'll make my life easier when I'm trying to pry the control arm down, because there's nothing really to put a pry bar on. So this is a trick someone taught me. So you're going to put that, and then you're going to use your pry bar. And you could pry down like that once that ball joint frees up. There we go. All right, so now we're free. We're going to straighten out our wheel. We're going to pull on the bottom and get this axle out. Okay, once you get it out, I'm just going to put that up on the caliper, and then if you need that out of your way, you're going to use a ratchet strap to pull it away. All right, so we're going to use a pry bar in between the seal and the axle. You don't want to stick it way up there because you will hurt the axle seal. So our CV axle is having a difficult time coming out. So to support the weight on the other side, I strung it up on the spring. So if you are also having that issue, you can take out this mount, this little stabilizer mount, and you'll get better access to under the lip here. We're going to use a 17 millimeter socket, and we're just going to loosen this. We're not going to take it off. I'm going to use a 14 millimeter and take out these bolts. And in order to get to this one, we're going to take out these. All right, using a 14 millimeter, we're going to loosen up these and take them out. We don't need to support the transmission or engine because this mount is more for stability than it is to hold it up. All right, so now we're going to have to take this out because I need to be able to access that last bolt. I'm going to take that out. All right, and now we're going to take out this last bolt. So we've tried numerous ways to get this CV axle out. We are in New England, so there's a lot of extra rust around here. Sometimes you need extra vibration to get the CV axle out. So we're going to use an air chisel, and we're going to chisel it right here. We're going to pry as we do it, and a lot of times that's the extra vibration you need to get that out. All right, so we were able to pop that out. Now we're going to take out the axle. All right, so we're going to take it the rest of the way out. I have it bungeed up here, or strapped up. At this point, I'm going to unbungee it. And there we go. All right, so make sure you take a look at your seal, make sure it's intact and looking good. We're going to insert our CV axle now. When you're putting this axle in, make sure that this clip, the opening is on the bottom. And let gravity do its job as you're putting it in. It'll make it easier to get it in there. We're going to go up through the wheel well on the other side of the sway bar link. Again, check, make sure your clip is, the opening's on the bottom. Feel like you're somewhat engaged. You can start applying pressure. All right, so I have my nut on the end of the axle so I don't damage the threads. I'm making sure that the axle is engaged in the splines by seeing my rotor on the other side turn when I turn this. And now I'm just going to tap it in. Now we're going to check to make sure it's in. That feels good. All right, so here we are, we're on the other end. I'm going to take my nut off here. Set that off to the side. And I'm going to get this inside the knuckle. This is still ratcheted. I'm going to turn my axle inward. I'm still bungeed as well for now until I get it in. That helps take the weight off. And now I'm going to undo my bungee. That feels pretty good. And now we're going to release our ratchet. And I'm going to take this out. Work my way in. And now we're going to get our ball joint into our knuckle. I'm going to use my pry bar again to do that with my exhaust clamp that's still there. I'm going to take this off now, we don't need it. All right, so now we're going to put our nut on our ball joint. And we're going to tighten that up. All right, so I'm going to put a pull jack underneath so I can make sure that ball joint doesn't spin while tightening down the nut. All right, now that there's pressure applied to the ball joint, it should not spin. And just continue tightening the nut. we are going to torque our ball joint nut now. So we're going to torque this to 50 foot-pounds. I'm using a crow's foot. So now we can release our pull jack. We're going to put this mount back on. Start with this bracket first. All right, we're going to torque these to 35 foot-pounds. All right, so now we're going to attach our other end. All right, you're going to knock that into place. Before we torque that, we are going to put our other bolts in on the subframe. All right, let's torque these to 50 foot-pounds. Okay, and now we're going to torque this to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, so now we're going to put our axle nut on, snug it up, and torque it to 200 foot-pounds. I'm going to lower my vehicle down to tighten up my axle nut. I'm going to torque it to 200 foot-pounds. I have a pry bar between two lug nut studs to hold it in place while torquing. All right, so now we're just going to peen our axle nut. I'm using a cold chisel. Put your wheel on. Start your lug nuts by hand. Using a 21mm socket, we're going to tighten up our lug nuts in a crisscross manner. I like to walk them on using the bottom lug nut first. With a 21mm socket, we're going to torque our wheels to 80 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.